I'm your host, Doreen Steenland, and today I'd love to welcome our guest, Dr. Jaime L. Pula. Yeah, so where do we go wrong debunking this energy myth?
You know, we as humans often misstep. Sometimes we think that we're going to get our energy by eating too much, or sometimes we don't eat enough, right? We get into a diet mode and the quest to get more energy. Sometimes we don't sleep enough, and
Mm,
then on our days off, we might oversleep and miss wonderful sunny, bright mornings like the one that we're both experiencing. And, sometimes we just frankly do some risky behaviors. We get that adrenaline running or that in the moment feel good act. And these are, ways that are not necessarily long lasting energy avenues. So I'd love to talk a little bit more about that today if you don't mind.
yeah, great. So, what are some examples for the viewers out there of ways that we misstep to gain energy? We think they're helping us, but they're not. What?
Yeah. So maybe we turn to soda. We'll just pick on soda because we can, or Red Bull, or
Oh,
some other
yeah,
type of caffeinated beverage
yeah.
in the quest to kind of have that afternoon lift to get us through the what goes against our circadian rhythm and thinking about what else we have to do to finish up our workday and then our oftentimes our other full-time job, raising families or taking care of homes or taking care of loved ones. Sometimes we find ourselves just doing things in the moment, not really thinking them out.
Yeah, wow. So, what I'm hearing is that we are really functioning on autopilot, and we just had a little conversation about this, right? We were talking about new drivers getting their driver's license and how when they get their driver's license, they have to think of every single thing, like up is right, down is left for the blinker, all of the little things, the gadgets, paying attention to the mirrors and all the things. And
Yeah.
until that becomes uh, branded in their brain, like it is for us, right? They are very intentional on their driving. Whereas for us, it's autopilot. So, what I'm hearing you say is that a lot of these missteps that we take are really autopilot thinking and behaving.
Absolutely. That is such a great way to put it. And it's a great place to be to reevaluate the things that we take for granted, the daily actions. Now, we can't function on that all the time. We wouldn't be able to get through our day.
Yes.
Would we brush our teeth? Would we, like you said, drive a car? You can't possibly concentrate the way that a new driver. But with this new lens on, to get that energy, especially if you're experiencing a lack of energy. And I hear that so often. We do have to take a little bit of time to fine tune and to debunk some of those myths and to correct where we might be going wrong. Yeah.
Mhm. So what would you add to this as far as um, risky behaviors? You mentioned risky behaviors. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So risky behaviors could be, overspending.
Uh,
Maybe you're find yourself in waiting. Maybe you're waiting in on hold on a phone call in between for work, or maybe you're at an appointment. Maybe you're waiting in line, and so you start scrolling. You start
mm,
scrolling, and we know that oftentimes we can get in trouble with retail therapy when we do those things. It's amazing what can be delivered to your home. It's a blessing and a curse if misused. You know, things that are meant to be convenient and get you through and be very practical sometimes in a knee-jerk response to get that energy pump. Maybe spending money that you necessarily haven't allocated for. That's a really good example, I think, of a risky behavior, because financial health is so important to health, and it is what keeps people up at night, oftentimes zapping their energy.
Yes, I love that. So financial health is important. And when we overspend and do these impulsive uh, buying things or scrolling, what we're doing is we're really using up all of the resources that we have at our access, and we're draining ourselves dry. And we're creating stress for ourselves when
Oh
we
yeah.
think of the bills that are going to be coming,
Oh
right?
yeah.
At the time when we press send, it doesn't really purchase, right? When we say purchase, it really doesn't feel bad at that time. It feels really good. You get that hit, right?
Yeah.
And then you have to face the music.
Yeah. And Dory, I don't know if you're like me, but sometimes I don't even remember. Oh,
Yes.
that got delivered, or maybe it didn't get delivered, and so you didn't really care much for it.
Mhm.
So you have to think about those times when you're trying to get energy from other places.
Yes. And what I'm hearing really is they're all just counterfeits.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, right in line with money, counterfeit energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And these are, again, I keep hearing it. I don't know if you hear it, but people are just saying that they're out of energy.
Yes.
They're looking for more energy, and they are looking in every avenue,
Yeah.
every direction to get that. And I almost feel like they're little lies that we tell ourselves. Like, I I don't have enough energy. Like, if you tell yourself that, then you're going, your words have power, and then your actions will match your words. So we have to be very mindful of what we put out into the universe when we're saying these things. Or some people will say, well, I'll feel better, or I'll do this, and then I'll take a look at a new step, a new direction in my career. I don't have the energy for that right now. I just don't have the energy.
Yeah.
So, it's stress, it's paying a toll on our bodies, the
Yeah.
mind, and the connection to the body is real. It comes up, it presents in lots of different symptoms. It could start with a headache, a backache, nauseousness,
Mhm.
jitters, anything. And again, these are things that, as humans we experience, and then we just try to pacify them.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to recap from my neuroscience point of view because my brain is going neuroscience here. And so what I'm hearing you say is that we've got this discomfort, this
Mm.
uncomfortable emotion, and we're looking in all the wrong places to solve the problem. And that whatever we put into the universe, as you say, your brain will always find what it's looking for. And
Hmm.
that's because we have a little filter in our brain called the reticular activating system. And that system is always searching to find something to prove you right.
Yeah.
So if you say, I have no energy, I am so exhausted, oh, I hate my job. Well, that is all your brain is going to bring attention to. Your
That's
brain
right.
is going to bring all of that negativity to your attention, and you're going to miss the water trickling in the background, the green trees, the blue skies, the sunshine, the
Yeah.
deep breathing, like
I don't
all
want to miss that.
things. Right. We don't want to miss it. Right. We don't want to miss it. So we have to be careful what we put out there. So what are some educational barriers that might be getting in the way?
Yeah. So I try to put it into three principles, just
Okay.
three things that, you can use as a checklist of what to do. And, the first one is like, if you don't use your energy, you're going to lose it. Like, if you want to keep your energy up, you have to use it just like a muscle, just like if you were going to go to the gym. Sometimes we think, oh, I just have to preserve, I have to save some energy. I need to save my energy for almost like the next trauma or the next crisis. They're always looking, worrying, what's going to happen. And that I find is a lot of what people do. And so if I can just, emphasize, it takes practice.
Yeah.
Practice, we're never going to be perfect, but practice makes progress.
Yes.
And so oftentimes there's not so much of an education barrier. You know, we all know that we should kind of eat a well-balanced diet, limited in sugar, not so processed, drinking water, getting 7 hours throughout the day or night of sleep. I know we have a lot of shift workers in our audience.
Mhm.
Um, spending quality time with loved ones, getting out into nature. These are things to practice, but that requires energy. And sometimes we get so much in a funk, we don't even take care of our basic needs. So we can't overlook that. We just definitely have to practice. That's the first
Okay.
principle.
All right. So the first principle is that we are, thinking that it's important to save our energy and we worry about not having enough. And that worry itself is sucking the energy out of you.
Mhm. Yes. Well put, well put. And, we'll lean on Albert Einstein, energy is neither created nor destroyed.
Yeah.
Just like time, we all have 24 hours in our day. We all have the same amount of energy accessible to us.
Hmm. Wow. And it's interesting. My brain is going once again to the neuroscience thing. And I'm thinking about how we get to build
Mm.
that that window of tolerance, the ability to have a bigger space to go with the flow of life instead of um, this narrow space where we're always running out. It's not enough. It's a scarcity type thing. And so part of building resilience and practicing, like you said, practice makes, what did you say? Practice makes perfect?
Progress.
Progress.
Practice
Yeah,
makes
I know.
progress.
I knew it wasn't perfect.
Yeah.
When you said that, I was thinking of the window of tolerance in our brain, like this imaginary space where we perform at our best, right? And that can be increased and widened and expanded as we practice these tools and
Yeah.
techniques.
And I love what you said. I'm just echoing it in it's abundance. It's a
Yes.
mindset of abundance versus a mindset of lack.
Yes.
So practicing abundance, it's
Yes.
hard. It's not easy.
Right. It's not, but it also is putting your focus on all that is good and all that is right and all that is beautiful and praiseworthy and glorious, right? I mean, those are the things that we're then focusing on so that the negative things, it's not like we're saying la 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 la, negativity doesn't exist,
Right.
but we're filtering them through a more positive mindset so that we can actually use our energy wisely.
Yeah, and that ties in perfectly to the second principle, and that's the investment. Again, we'll use the analogy of money.
Yeah.
Energy, like money, is an investment, and you have to invest it well.
Yeah.
So if we were going to talk about a frozen bank account,
Yeah.
never happens, right? Never happens.
Right. Right.
You wouldn't put money in a frozen bank account if you knew it was frozen. So
Yeah.
why do we put energy into things that we know may or may not be working as well for us? They're not serving us. And so I do challenge our audience to take a deep look, take a look at your home life, take a look at your work life. And then we forget that other piece. If we're looking at a pie, and we just break it into thirds, there's work, there's home, then that 33.33 to infinity piece is ourself,
Yes.
and so how are we investing in ourselves? And
Yeah.
are we even investing in ourselves?
Wow.
So, at work, sometimes we are not prioritizing as well as we could. Maybe we have in our mind we want to see some type of accomplishment. But as we all know, when we work in teams. Even sole contributors, we're working as a team, and maybe our team isn't ready for what we're ready for. So maybe that's something, that we can kind of back off on. An example of home life is, maybe you've been working on home repairs,
Mhm.
and neglecting some familial relationships instead. Or maybe you have hobbies and, you
Yeah.
need to kind of focus on the home life. And then as far as that self piece, it all goes back to self-care. And, sometimes it gets overused. I just want to stretch the definition of self-care and lead it into frequencies. It's a high frequency state.
Mm,
It's whatever gives you energy. For
mhm.
some people, it's worship, a
Yes.
divine entity. For some people, it is riding a motorcycle.
Yes.
They feel their soul at their core. And for other people, it might be listening to classical music,
Yeah.
but that's your unique spot. And so you want to invest in that as well.
So good. So what I heard you say is that self-care is not selfish. Number
No,
one, it is
it's
a
needed.
necessity,
Yeah.
and we all it looks different for everybody.
Yes.
So I am like a 50-50 introvert extrovert. So sometimes I'm energized by being around people. But when I'm around people for too long, I get energized by being alone
Mhm.
in a quiet, beautiful spot where I could just sit and think and all of those things that you talked about.
And
So
that's okay. And you have to be
it's
protective about
it,
that if you know
yes,
that. Yeah.
yes.
People don't want to
There's
understand.
nothing wrong with that. You have to find the way that you get energized and make sure you build it into your life. That's what you're saying to us.
Build it in. And then going back, we're running on autopilot. We all are. That's how we get through our
Mhm.
day. That's how we progress as humans. But we're challenging ourselves to take a micro look at this and re-examine where we may be misstepping and what we can do better. But we wouldn't be, doing ourselves service if we didn't talk about that third principle, which is using 10% of your time. Now, when we look at 10% of our waking hours, that's not much. It's not much.
Right.
It's not a heavy lift. But 10% of your time is just doing good for others,
Mm,
like a tithe or a charitable contribution, you
yeah.
know, whether it's volunteering, whether it is a handwritten note to a loved one or somebody overseas. We have service people overseas would love a handwritten note. I mean, it's endless of what we can do. It doesn't always mean that we have to give money to show others that compassion, and in turn the joy that you receive in doing it, it's just re-energizing. It's like the 10% is, you can't underestimate that when you help other people.
Wow. Okay. So here we are, we're talking to all of these people who are stressed out and overwhelmed, and you're saying, let's do one more thing. But it works the opposite, is what you're saying. We think it's going to drain us even more when in fact we get energized by it.
Yeah, it's intentional.
Mhm.
And it is when you're are quiet in your moments and you want to know how to serve some somebody or some cause. It's not the barking at, to insatiably feed others that are asking for things. That's the principle number two. Are we investing wisely? We
Mhm.
get to say no. We get to
Yes.
use our voice, sometimes use our feet if needed. Um, but yeah, and that's a mindset too, not to look at it as just another thing to do. That's comes from a place of lack. It
Yes.
comes from a place of abundance and you giving back in your unique, special way that only you can.
Wow. I love what you're saying because it really builds us up as professionals and human beings to seek to figure out what makes us different, what makes us unique as humans, and how can we contribute to this world in a way that's going to make an impact.
And what brings us joy when we're doing that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, so good. What other thoughts do you have for us on this topic?
Yeah, I think, it's kind of a loaded topic. We're trying to
Yeah.
make it simplify it. We know it's not easy,
Mhm.
but if we practice, if we invest well, if we seek to do good for others,
Yeah.
these are the ways to get more energy. That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And then one day we won't be in a physical body. Um, so I've got lots of stuff to do today. I've got all this energy to expend. I don't know about you, Miss Doreen.
Yes, me too. Well, I enjoyed our talk so much.